Imagine waking up at 3 a.m. The house is empty. You live alone. But there are footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. Because some part of your brain, the rational part, has gone completely quiet. And something older has taken over. Every culture in human history has felt exactly what you're feeling right now. And science finally found out why. The answer is not what you'd expect. Not whether sheets float through hallways. The real question is this: why do humans keep reporting the feeling of a presence? A figure at the edge of vision, a voice with no source, a room that feels wrong in a way you cannot name. The explanations science found don't debunk the experience. They make it more unsettling. In 1998, a mechanical engineer named Vic Tandy was working late in a laboratory in Coventry, England. He felt an overwhelming sense of dread. His vision blurred. He became convinced something was in the room with him. The next day, Tandy noticed his fencing foil vibrating on its own in a vise. The lab's ventilation fan was producing a standing wave of sound at 18.98 Hz. At that frequency, sound doesn't enter your ears. It enters your body. It vibrates your eyeballs. Creates peripheral visual distortions. Shapes at the edge of your vision that aren't there. It triggers the vagus nerve, running from your brainstem all the way through your chest and abdomen, and produces a wave of unexplained dread so powerful that rational adults become convinced they are not alone. Trained, rational, convinced. Researchers tested it. They pumped infrasound into concert halls without telling the audience. Attendees reported chills, unease, a feeling of being watched. Here is the part nobody talks about. Infrasound is everywhere. Old buildings produce it through their ventilation systems. The most haunted room in a building is often the room with the worst ventilation. No ghost required. Just a frequency you can't hear but your nervous system absolutely can. In 1921, an American family reported their house was haunted. Slamming doors. Feelings of being followed. Waking in the night convinced someone was standing over them. A doctor found a faulty furnace leaking carbon monoxide. CO binds to hemoglobin, reducing oxygen to the brain. Your brain starts filling gaps with threats that aren't there. It causes anxiety, paranoia, hallucinations. The haunting stopped when the furnace was fixed. Toxic black mold in enclosed spaces does the same thing. Its mycotoxins cross the blood-brain barrier. One family kept seeing the same dark figure in the same basement corner. Mold remediation teams found the highest concentration of spores in that exact corner. The house felt evil. The house was just making them sick. In 2014, neuroscientist Olaf Blanke at EPFL in Switzerland published something remarkable. His team was able to induce the feeling of a ghostly presence on demand. Not through suggestion. Not through hypnosis. Your brain constantly tracks where your body is in space. When those signals conflict, the brain generates a second body to resolve the confusion. A phantom self, perceived by your conscious mind as another entity in the room. Blanke's team triggered this using a robotic system with a slight time delay on a back touch. Patients described someone standing behind them, following as they moved. One patient asked the researchers to make it stop because it was frightening her. They were creating a haunting inside an fMRI machine. In a brightly lit Swiss laboratory, this exact misfire can be triggered by exhaustion, high altitude, sensory deprivation, fever, intense grief. Sailors alone at sea for months, mountaineers at extreme altitude, people sitting vigil beside a dying loved one. The ghost was always the brain, but the experience was always completely real. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Michael Persinger built something called the God helmet. A modified motorcycle helmet fitted with solenoids producing weak magnetic fields. Targeted directly at the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe processes self-identity, sense of body, the distinction between yourself and others. Participants reported a presence in the room. Some reported seeing figures. Some heard voices. Certain environments with naturally fluctuating electromagnetic fields can produce these effects passively. You walk into a room. The EM field hits your temporal lobe. Your brain manufactures a presence. And you walk out convinced the room is haunted. The human brain has a region specifically dedicated to the sense of self. And that region can be disrupted. Infrasound explains some cases. Carbon monoxide explains others. Sensorimotor misfires explain others. But none of them explain all of them. In 1882, scientists at Cambridge founded the Society for Psychical Research. Their goal was to apply scientific methodology to supernatural claims and eliminate them one by one. They spent decades collecting thousands of testimonies. Cross-referenced. Verified where possible. After eliminating fraud, after eliminating hallucination, a residue remained. Experiences reported by multiple independent witnesses simultaneously. Information conveyed that could not have been known. They didn't claim to have proven ghosts. They claimed something was happening their framework couldn't explain. That residue has never been fully resolved. The human brain is a prediction machine. It builds models of the world and fills in gaps. In darkness. In grief. In isolation. In buildings that are old and settling and groaning. Sometimes the pattern it reaches for is a person who used to be there. Whether that reaching connects to something real, nobody can say with certainty. Not yet. So go back to that hallway. The footsteps. The silence. The part of you that went completely still. Science can explain most of that. It cannot explain all of it. We are conscious beings who do not fully understand consciousness. We don't know with certainty what happens to it when the body stops. 95. The question stays open. And so does the door.